Aloha guys, this is the headless scuba Chris. Now I'm gonna go whipping tomorrow and I want to figure out what weights I'm gonna need to bring for my bubbles. These are my Rattler bubbles that you saw the video on. Now this is 1 3/4, so we'll make sure. Yep, that's 1 3/4. So what we want to do is to make sure that if this will work in the water displacement should be about half of this, okay? So we dump it. Look at it. It just totally sinks. It bobs just slightly up, but it's just a little bit too heavy. So you, anytime you try out different size of bubbles, you have to put the BBs in and just kind of figure out what's happening. So that is 1 3/4. It's a little bit too heavy. This is 1 1/2. See that? This is 1 1/2. That's the size that I tried in the field. You put it in the water. See, it bubbles up. Now this tells me that as long as half the displacement, the water displacement is going on with the bubbles, that's perfect. So what I'm going to try to do now is try the smaller sizes. This is 3/4 of an ounce. Oh, that's a little bit too heavy. So if we tried a lighter rod and reel and went with the 3/4, this would sink and it's useless because the reason for the bubbles is so you won't get caught on the bottom like the reef. Now this is a 1/2 ounce. That's a 1/2 ounce right there. So we'll try put that in there. Beautiful. Displaces half of it. That is exactly what we want. So what I found that as long as with the BBs in it, if you can displace half of the volume, that is perfect for whipping. So now I know what type of weights to put in certain size bubbles, and we'll try this out on the reef tomorrow. Thank you. Aloha guys, now that we know what kind of weights we're going to need, we have to seal it because when I field tested these units, water was getting in. It's not a airtight seal. So bought some of this super glue, self-piercing cap. Okay, here it goes again. It just broke the seal. Okay, take this off. Always make sure you have some tissue. Let's see, there it is. It's starting to come out. So like I said before, you punch in the smaller end like so. Okay, so you figure it's gonna be about there. You know, put some, don't put a lot, just put very little. Okay, start to seal that. So you're starting to push it in, but what I'm going to do now, put some on this end. Okay, push it all the way in as much as it'll go. Then put another seal on this end, and this is going to cause a chemical reaction. It's like airplane model glue. You know, when you made model planes when you're a kid, it's actually going to melt. The super glue will melt this together. That's all you have to do. Very simple. It's going to dry very fast. Now the reason why I got a production line here, all this ready, is because once you start gluing, you really don't want to stop. You kind of want to finish everything because this does have a life expectancy after you pierce the seal. That's all you have to do. It dries within a minute and it's going to be perfectly sealed. And don't ever put it into the holes here because that's where your line goes. And that's how you seal it. And these are all ready to use. Thank you. Okay, this is what my tough bubble looks like. See that? That's the rattling it's going to make when it's out there. That's what's going to attract the fish in. So normally I would finesse it. So I would hold my reel like this. But what I do is when I want to power ball it, I hold it up here. That way I get more power and leverage throwing the this weighted tough bubble out. And when I bring it back and I'm bringing the pole up and down like this, you know, going up, down, I'm getting more power and leverage this way with less fatigue. So what I do, instead of holding it here, I hold it here, right? So, okay, watch this. Woo, look at that. Past the breakers, absolutely past the breakers. Reel it in until the line's taut. Then I start, you can see it jumping out there already. Straight out there. Right where the tip is, it's popping on the surface right now. Because this is the way I'm holding it. Like this. Try to make things simple. Less arm fatigue this way. You get more leverage. More power in your throw. That's what you want to do. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Oh, I just took a monster whack, but it didn't hold. Huge hit. Okay, when I power cast, I use roughly 1/3 the length of the rod, so this is 10 feet. So I have about roughly 3.5 to 4 feet of line from the tip of the pole to the bubble. What I do is, I like side swiping because the angle's lower. I get more distance on my casting, but instead of putting the line out to my right like this, just perpendicular out to my right, I find that I need to put it more in back of me because when I turn, right, like this, when I turn, that turning action of my body whiplashes the weighted line. So I put it about, okay, say about there. Hang, 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 hit. That's what you want. A lot of distance. And it's easy. You use the momentum of your body turning around to help you get that weighted bubble or lure or plug, anything you want. But that's what I like to do, just to get it out there as far as I can, and it works. And very little fatigue, arm fatigue. Works very well. Thank you. Okay, I showed you how to side throw. I'm going to show you overhead throw, what I call my back throw. Bring down your bubble until it's roughly even with your first eye right there, okay? Then remember, put your hand here, not here, put it up here. Grab the line with your index. You gotta be careful because if you use braid like I am with no glove, you gotta know what you're doing. Fortunately, I know what I'm doing, or so I tell myself. Okay. Notice how I'm gonna get that weight as far back as I can, like that. You see that? I'm gonna keep my arms straight. See my shadow? My arms and my rod would be straight. It would go over my head and my arms would be straight. And I'm gonna put my left foot forward when I throw. I'm right-handed, so I'll put my left foot forward. Like so. Look at that. Just behind where the first breakers are breaking. This time I'm just going to keep my rod tip high and let it just splash the surface coming back. So it's nice to change up your retrieval rate if you're not hitting anything. See what kind of action the fish are most attracted to. Hey, there we go, that's it. Aloha guys, I'd like to explain to you the process of what I call my 1 second rule. This is my 1 second rule of tripping the bail when you're casting. Now when you throw out your loaded bubble, or in this case it could be a lure, a popper, plug, whatever. Okay, this is the line here. This goes back to your rod tip. So when I toss out my weighted item, okay, because of the wind's gonna it's gonna take back your leader line here and it's gonna bring it back. Now the problem of the leader line coming back is it's gonna be very close to the main line and it may tangle. If it tangles, it'll tangle up here, or you're gonna start getting knots in your leader itself, and that will weaken the leader line. Okay, but when I found out that if you want to lessen this or not even have it at all, I call this the 1 second rule. Watch your weighted bubble or your weighted lure about 1 second before it hits the water. You trip the bail. You have to trip the bail, and what that does, it stops the bubbles or your weighted object in mid-flight for 1 second, which will cause the leader to swing back around and come out to the front. When that happens, the line is fully taut. Now the advantages to this is, like I said, you're not going to get any weak spots in your leader because it won't tangle, it won't knot up. And also, as soon as your bubble or your weighted line hits, this line would be totally straight out. So as soon as you make your first crank on your retrieval, your item will be chugging or popping, whatever you want. It will be immediately in action. This is something I always do because I don't like getting weak leader lines when I'm at my locations. It means that there's a chance you might lose a decent sized fish. So just follow this rule. If it's during the daytime and you can see this, you can just trip it 1 second before it hits the water. If not, after a while you develop a sense of timing, okay? And you can feel that sense of timing, so you know roughly when to trip the bail to get the same desired effect at night. All right, thank you. Okay, this is your bail. I like to manually trip the bail about 1 second before everything hits the water. The reason for that is so once you trip the bail, it causes the line to tighten out, to go straight again. So when I start to crank, I already have pressure on it and I get immediate reaction on the line. The advantage to that is that way, if you're using a heavy bait or a heavy lure, you're not going to give it time for it to sink to the bottom and get caught. There, trip, see? And immediately as soon as I tripped it, the line went straight and it's already dancing, coming back on the surface. I didn't give the hook any time to snag the reef. So it's shallow water, you kind of want to trip that about 1 second before it hits. Thank you.